Grief is strange. It doesn't always shout. It whispers. Sometimes in the middle of the night. Sometimes in the quiet between heartbeats. And sometimes it whispers through pixels on a screen. My husband vanished 9 years ago. No trace. No goodbye. No body. Only a backpack left at the train station. They said or worse, that he never loved me. But last week, I opened Google Maps. I was looking at an address, zoomed in, just curious, and there behind a rusted gate in the corner of the image was his shirt. The same one he wore the day he disappeared. The day Jason disappeared, the sky was unusually clear. It was a Wednesday. He kissed Clara on the forehead, grabbed his sketchbook, and said, "Just gonna meet Marcus, be back by 6." He never came back. Clara waited and waited. The police called it voluntary disappearance. Said he likely left on purpose. No signs of foul play, they said. Maybe a new life somewhere. But Clara knew Jason. Knew the way he folded his socks. The way he triple-checked the stove. The way he always said "I love you" even when they argued. Jason didn't just leave. Something happened. Grief isn't always loud. Clara spent the first year searching. Posters, Facebook groups, train routes, homeless shelters. Nothing. The second year, she fell apart. Quit her job! Stopped eating! Disconnected. By year 4, people stopped asking. By year 7, even her mother told her, "You have to let go." But she couldn't. Because you don't bury someone without a body. And Jason's body never came home. It was her niece who asked about the house. "Aunt Clara, what was that old warehouse Jason used to draw?" He had a fascination with abandoned buildings, always sketching broken windows and tangled ivy. Clara remembered one in particular, a factory on the outskirts of town. She typed the address into Google, clicked Street View, zoomed in, and there, in the far right corner of the frame, behind a rusted gate, beside a crumbling wall, half obscured by vines, was a man, hunched, wearing a faded flannel shirt, the exact red and blue one Jason wore on his last day. Her hands trembled as she took a screenshot. She compared it with the last photo they took together at the park, 3 days before he vanished. Same shirt, same posture, even the scuff on the elbow. "It can't be," she whispered. But it was. She filed a new report with the police. They didn't believe her. Could be a coincidence. That image is from 8 months ago. We've checked that warehouse years ago. But she wouldn't let it go. What if he's alive? What if someone's keeping him there? Clara drove to the warehouse herself. The rusted gate was chained shut, but weak. She walked around back, found a hole in the fence. Heart pounding, she slipped inside. It smelled like mold, iron, and memory. Inside, vines curled through broken windows. Pallets were stacked high. Dust blanketed the floor. And in the corner, where the Google Maps photo had shown the figure, was nothing. Just a torn tarp, and underneath it, a cot, old, worn, and beside it, a sketchbook. The sketchbook was weather-worn, but her fingers knew it instantly. Jason's drawings, not just buildings. Faces, her face, dozens of pages. Some smiling, some crying, some asleep. Each page dated, meticulously, from after he disappeared. "No," she whispered. "No, no." The last date was just 3 weeks ago, which meant he had been here recently. In the back of the warehouse, Clara found a door, locked with a heavy padlock. She knocked, waited, silence. She knocked again, and just as she turned to leave, a knock came back. Once, then nothing. She ran to the nearest station, showed them the sketchbook. The knock. Finally, they agreed to return. They brought cutters, lights, gloves. They broke open the back door. But inside, no one. Just a single chair, a bowl, and a journal. Inside, in Jason's handwriting, "If you find this, it means I'm gone again. I don't know who you are or how long I've been gone, but I was taken, and they don't want me to leave." That night, Clara couldn't sleep. She returned to the screenshot, zoomed in again. Something was off. In the corner of the frame, barely visible, was a second figure, standing behind Jason, wearing a mask. Black, shiny, almost military. She hadn't noticed it before. Her hands shook as she enhanced the image. Not Jason alone. Jason and someone watching him. The next morning, Clara's phone rang. Blocked number. She answered. A voice came through. Flat. Robotic. Stop looking. Who is this? He's not yours anymore. Where is he? He was never yours to find. Why are you doing this? Silence. Then the line went dead. That night, Clara sat in the dark. She opened Google Maps again, zoomed in on the warehouse, refreshed, and the photo was gone. Street view, unavailable. No record, no image. Like the frame had been scrubbed from the system. Her eyes filled with tears. But she wasn't done. She picked up the sketchbook, ran her fingers over the last drawing. Her face, with a note beneath it. If you're reading this, I still remember you. And in the bottom corner, a symbol. 3 triangles, interlocked. She had seen it once, on the lapel of a man who claimed to work for urban redevelopment. 9 years ago, the week Jason disappeared. Sometimes the past doesn't stay buried. Sometimes when you dig for answers, you find things that were never meant to be uncovered. Jason hadn't vanished. He had been erased. And now that Clara had seen the truth, someone was trying to erase her too. But she wasn't stopping, not until she brought him home.
3 triangles, interlocked.
She had seen it before on a badge worn by a city official during a zoning meeting 9 years ago. She didn't think much of it then. Now it haunted her. Clara scanned through old records, digging into development projects near the warehouse. Most were standard, industrial zoning, demolition plans. But one permit stood out, filed 2 months before Jason vanished. The listed sponsor, Astor Research Group. Symbol, 3 interlocking triangles. Purpose Behavioral Observation Lab, Level B clearance. The permit had no address, only coordinates. Clara copied them down. It led to a dense forest just outside town. Clara rented a car and drove alone. The road grew narrow, the trees thicker. Her GPS flickered, then died. She parked near an old service gate. A sign read, "Property of ARD, entry prohibited." She climbed over the rusted fence. The coordinates led her deeper until she stumbled upon it. An old hatch, rusted steel, buried under moss and leaves. A keypad blinked on the side. Powered, active. She tapped randomly. Nothing. Then she tried Jason's birthday. Beep, click. The hatch hissed open. The tunnel beneath was dim and cold. Walls lined with metal, fluorescent lights flickering. She moved quietly, heartbeat racing. Down the hall, a locked door stood slightly ajar. Inside, a room. Monitors, cots, files, and on the far wall, a massive corkboard covered in photos. Faces, dozens. Men, women, children, each with a name and a number. She found Jason, 11 and 19, cohort 3A, suppressed dissenter, active observation. Pinned beneath his photo, his handwriting. If I try to leave, they erase the day before. I've lost months this way. I can't even trust my own memories. Clara's hand shook as she reached for it. She wasn't alone. Footsteps echoed from down the corridor. Clara ducked behind a storage unit. 2 men entered, dressed in black with masks. "We need to prep subject 1119 for another cycle," one said. Dr. Halden's worried. He said the last drawing was too detailed. "Then we increase the suppression, bring the dosage up." "What about the intruder? She's being tracked." Clara held her breath. They left. But now she knew. Jason was here. Alive, but not for long. Clara found a console in the observation room. Dozens of camera feeds, most dark, some static, but one screen flickered on. Jason, older now, thinner, hair longer, but it was him, sitting at a table, drawing. And next to him on the table was a picture of her. Claire gasped. He hadn't forgotten. Even after 9 years, he was drawing her face. And at the top in shaky handwriting, "Her name is Clara, don't let them take her too." The drawer beneath the console contained files marked experiment cohort. Inside, suppression serum reports, memory loop protocol, isolation effects studies. Jason's folder was thick, but inside was a photo that didn't belong. A sonogram, dated 3 months before Jason disappeared. Clara's name on the form. But Clara had never been pregnant. She staggered back, heart pounding. No. Had they not just taken Jason? Had they taken something else? Sirens blared. Red lights flashed down the corridor. Intruder detected, level 2 breach. Lockdown in 60 seconds. Clara grabbed Jason's file, the sonogram, and the security photo. She sprinted down the hall, found a service exit at the far end. The tunnel twisted upward. Her lungs burned. Behind her, Dogs. She reached the hat. Sunlight poured in. She bolted through the woods. Branches tore at her skin. The car was gone, but a truck sat by the fence, engine running. And in the driver's seat was a woman she didn't recognize. "Get in!" the woman shouted. Clara didn't hesitate. As the truck sped off, the woman glanced over. "You, Clara. Who are you?" "Someone who used to work there. I saw your name on the recall list. Figured you'd end up there eventually." Recall list? Anyone who starts remembering. Clara clutched the folder. "They took my husband. Maybe my child." The woman glanced away. "Then you're gonna need more than a file. You're gonna need to meet the others." They reached an abandoned church hours later. Inside, people. Half a dozen. All silent. One approached Clara. "Young, maybe 20. Yar, Clara?" She nodded. He pulled something from his coat. A drawing. Her face. Tears welled in her eyes. "Jason drew this," he said. "We all remember him. You knew him? We were him, all of us. Different tests, different versions." Clara's knees buckled. "What do you mean, versions?" The boy looked at her and whispered, "You didn't just lose Jason. You lost yourself. When someone disappears, we assume they're gone, lost, taken, vanished. But sometimes they're right there, in front of us, smiling, talking, and completely unaware of who they used to be. Because the truth isn't that they were erased. It's that they were rewritten. And that's what Clara was starting to understand. Jason wasn't the only one who went missing 9 years ago. So did she. The boy handed Clara the drawing of her face. It was sketched gently, shaded with care like Jason always used to do. "You said he drew this?" "He drew all of us," the boy said. "He remembered everyone, even when we couldn't." He pulled out a weathered folder. Inside were dozens of portraits, different people, each with a name written in Jason's handwriting. Some had multiple drawings, each one older than the last. Faces that had changed, aging, morphing, but all the names remained the same. He said we were stuck in something called the loop. "What loop?" Clara asked, voice trembling. "The one that resets you. Every time you get too close to remembering, they wipe you. Start again." Another woman, mid-30s, eyes sunken from sleepless nights, handed Clara a worn journal. "Jason's again. He left this the night before he tried to escape," she said. "We found it hidden under his cot, buried inside the wall." Clara opened the cover. First page. Cycle sign 14. "I think she's waking up again." She froze. "Who is he talking about?" The woman placed a hand on her shoulder. "Yo." Inside the journal, Jason wrote about her. Not once, not twice, but across 14 entries. 14 attempts to reach her. 14 times she had almost remembered. Each one ended the same. She looks at me like she knows. Then the next day, it's gone. Her eyes go blank again, like nothing ever happened. They call it compliance drift. The moment a subject fights too hard against the rewrite. She always fights, but they're getting better at hiding it from her. Clara sat down. The room spun.
"They wiped me."
Over and over, the boy said.
Until you forgot he ever existed. Clara pulled out the sonogram she found in the facility, dated 3 months before Jason's disappearance. Labeled Subject 3A, Parental Host. This says I was pregnant. No one answered, but I was never pregnant. Still, silent. Finally, the woman said softly, "That's what they wanted you to believe." Clara stood abruptly. "Where's the child?" "We don't know," the boy said. But Jason thought he or she was part of Phase 2, the replication protocol. Replication? Synthetic childhoods, implanted memories, perfect control. Clara shook her head. "They used my body and erased the memory." The woman nodded. "They didn't just take Jason. They took your child." One of the others, a young woman named Sadie, explained the only way to restore blocked memories. There's a method Jason tried to develop. He called it a mirror loop, something personal, visual, emotional, a direct contradiction to the implanted narrative. Sadie pulled out a box. Inside, a snow globe. Cracked, faded. Inside it, 2 tiny figures holding hands on a bench. Clara gasped. "Jason gave me this the day we got engaged." "Then look at it. Focus on it." Clara stared into the glass. The distorted figures shimmered. And suddenly, a flicker. Jason, kneeling. The snow falling. The ring trembling in his hand. Tears filled her eyes. It was real. It had always been real. Clara followed the group down into the lower level of the abandoned church. There, hidden beneath the floorboards, an old control panel. wires, screens, hard drives. Julian, who had helped her escape the facility, explained, Jason helped us tap into Rothwell's test feeds. Every loop has to be recorded, documented for study. This archive holds fragments of your old resets. They booted up a console. Old video feeds loaded. One showed Clara dressed in a hospital gown, screaming, "Where is he? Where is my baby?" Another, Jason, banging against a reinforced door. "Don't erase her again, please. We remember for each other." Clara dropped to her knees. They stole my entire life. Suddenly, a feed sparked to life. A new video, timestamped 2 weeks ago. A child, around 8 years old, in a white room, drawing quietly. Hair dark like Jason's, eyes shaped like Clara's. On the table, a drawing of the snow globe. Clara's breath hitched. "That's my child." The boy in the video looked up at the camera, stared directly into it, and said one word, "Mom." In that moment, Clara knew. She hadn't just been erased. She'd been used, rewritten, recycled. And someone out there, someone innocent, was growing up in the same loop. A child born of love, but raised by a system. And then from behind the console, a live message appeared, typed. One line, "We see you, Clara. Come back, or we'll reset the child next." They say a mother's bond can't be broken. But what if you never knew you were a mother? What if they erased that part of you? Stripped away the love, the memory, the instinct? Would you still feel it? Would your soul know something your mind didn't? Clara didn't have answers. She only had a single image burned into her memory. A child. With Jason's hair, her eyes, and a whisper through a camera. "Mom." The message on the screen blinked. "We see you, Clara. Come back, or we'll reset the child next." The group around her froze. Julian leaned forward. "They've traced us. We have to move now." Clara didn't move. She just stared at the blinking cursor, heart pounding. "They're bluffing."
They're not, said Sadie.
"They've done it before. Anyone who remembers gets wiped again, or worse." "What's worse than forgetting your child exists?" Julian looked her in the eyes. "Making the child forget you." Clara opened the facility layout Jason had drawn in his journal. He had labeled a lower floor deep observation, phase. That's where the child was. That's where she'd go. Sienna, her niece and longtime supporter, stepped forward.
We'll need a distraction.
Multiple points of entry. They've likely reinforced security since your escape. Julian nodded. "I can rewire the perimeter cameras. Buy you 20 minutes tops." Sadie added, "I'll go with her. We're better in pairs." Clara shook her head. "No, I go alone. Clara, he's my son, and I won't lose another piece of my family because of me." They waited until 3:17 a.m., the known rotation shift lull per Rothwell's outdated security schedules. Clara dressed in black. No tech. No comms. Just a flashlight and Jason's map. Before she left, she whispered to the photo of Jason she kept in her coat pocket, "If I don't make it back, at least one of us will." She stepped into the forest, wind biting at her face. The hatch appeared as before. This time, she didn't knock. She entered. The air was colder than she remembered. The lights hummed with unnatural rhythm. The corridor twisted deeper than she'd ever gone before. Jason's notes guided her, left at the red pipe straight at the flickering bulb, until finally, she found it. A door marked. Phase 2, Neuroadaptive Youth Cohort. It required a key card. She used one Julian had replicated, cloned from a stolen security badge. The lock clicked. She entered. Rows of glass walls. Children, dozens, each in their own room. Reading, drawing, staring blankly. Claire moved down the corridor, heart pounding. Room 117. Then, there he was, her son, sitting cross-legged, humming quietly. He held a small snow globe, the one Jason had made for Clara. She gasped. "Jason gave me that." She stepped closer to the glass. He looked up, their eyes met. He stood slowly, walked toward the window, placed his palm against it. She mirrored him. "Mom?" he mouthed. Clara broke into sobs. But before she could enter, the hallway lights turned red. A siren wailed. A door slammed shut behind her. Footsteps echoed. 2 guards approached from each end of the hall. Clara darted into the access vent Jason had drawn on the map, barely fitting through. She crawled blindly, every breath ragged, knees scraped raw. She dropped down into a hidden archive room full of files, tubes, wires. She locked the door behind her. And there, In the center of the room, a chair strapped to it. Jason, he was unconscious. IV lines in both arms. A neural headset pressed to his temples. Monitors showed brain activity, erratic, frantic. Clara ripped off the headset. Jason, wake up! Please! I found him. I found our son.
His eyes fluttered.
He groaned. Clara?
She wept.
Yes. They said you were gone, that you forgot again. Not this time. I remembered. And I'm getting you both out. He tried to sit up but winced. They tried to wipe me again. We'll undo it. All of it. No. It's too late for me. Don't say that. You need to get to him. They're preparing him for long-term transfer. What does that mean? Jason looked at her, eyes heavy with fear. They're putting him in a sleep cycle. He'll forget everything, including us. Clara activated a monitor and saw the child's room flashing yellow. Memory stabilization imminent. Protocol lock in T-minus 10 minutes until her son would forget everything. 10 minutes to save the last piece of the life they once had. Jason grabbed her wrist. Go. I'll come back for you. No, you won't. They'll move me again. Just save him. Jason. He placed something in her hand. A key. Use this to unlock room 1. How did you... I never stopped watching him, even when they told me to forget. He smiled weakly. He has your eye. Clara ran through the hallways, dodging guards, lights flashing. She reached room 1. The boy sat inside, eyes already fogging. He looked up as she opened the door. Who are you? Clara broke. I'm your mom. He blinked, hesitated, then whispered, I think. I remember your voice. She knelt and took his hand, and just as the system blared, protocol lock engaged. She heard the door behind her slam shut again. She turned. And standing there was Dr. Halden, the architect of the loop, holding a syringe. You should have stayed erased. Some truths aren't whispered. They're screamed. Through blood. Through memory. Through love too powerful to be wiped clean. They tried to erase Jason. They tried to erase Clara. They even tried to erase a child's very identity. But what they forgot was that a mother's love doesn't live in memory alone. It lives in soul, and no syringe can erase that. Dr. Halden stepped forward, syringe in hand. Calm, surgical. It's not personal, he said, voice flat. It never is, Clara replied, stepping in front of her son. But you've made a living stealing people's lives. He won't suffer. The reset is clean. He'll wake with no fear, no loss, no trauma, just peace. Peace doesn't come from forgetting. You remember too much. Clara narrowed her eyes. That's why you're scared. And with that, she lunged. Clara slammed into Halden, sending the syringe clattering across the floor. He was stronger, trained, but Clara had fire. He pinned her. She elbowed him. He struck back. The boy screamed. Then, a small hand grabbed the syringe. Her son. He looked at Halden, at Clara. Don't touch my mom. And he stabbed the syringe into Halden's leg. Halden collapsed, convulsing, his own serum reacting violently. Clara grabbed her son and held him close. We have to go. Where's Dad? She paused. We'll find him, together. Julian's voice crackled through the earpiece Clara had hidden. We see you on infrared. One corridor over, vents are clear. Get to the east shaft. They ran, hearts thudding. Guards poured into the hallway, but this time they weren't alone. Sadie and Sienna had breached security with a small team of former Rothwell subjects. Smoke grenades, EMP bursts, controlled chaos. Clara ducked into the vent with her son in tow. And then freedom! The forest opened up before them. Air, sky, stars. They reached the van. Julian helped them inside. Where's Jason? Clara asked. Julian hesitated. Still inside. Deep chamber. Then we go back. No time. Facilities collapsing protocols just triggered. Auto lockdown in 5 minutes. Clara grabbed a vest, strapped it on. I'm not leaving him again. Sienna looked at her. We'll cover you. Clara ran. She found Jason barely conscious, collapsed on the floor. Clara, you held on, she whispered, lifting him. Always. She carried him through smoke, past alarms, through the chaos. They emerged into the trees where her son stood, arms out. Jason's eyes filled with tears. He's so big. Clara pulled them both into her arms. We're whole again. For now, Jason whispered. Forever, she said. Julian uploaded the stolen files, footage, medical reports, documents. Rothwell's horrors flooded the media. The reset program, unwilling subjects, stolen memories, synthetic childhood, children raised in behavioral lab, names, faces, dates. It couldn't be buried anymore. Dr. Halden was arrested, rambling incoherently, his own memory serum corrupting his mind. The facility was shut down, investigations launched, victims surfaced. Some remembered, some didn't. But the world knew now. The erasure had failed. A quiet cottage by a lake. Jason painted by the porch. Claire attended flowers. Their son, now officially named Miles Jason Monroe, played with a paper snow globe he built by hand. They weren't normal. They weren't unbroken, but they were healing. And for the first time in a decade, they didn't have to look over their shoulders. There are some things they can steal. Your memories, your time, even your name. But they can't steal the truth. Not forever. And they can't steal love. Because love remembers, even when we forget. And when love finally finds its voice again, it shatters the silence. What if the one thing they tried to erase was the very thing that saved you? Moral reflection. Systems of power may erase names, but they cannot erase love. They may steal memory, but not soul. And in the end, the deepest kind of freedom is remembering who you were and choosing who you become. What did this final chapter teach you about resilience, the value of truth, and how love reclaims what injustice tries to erase? Share your thoughts in the comments.